operating budget to carry us forward in a reasonable level of expenditure, not skidding down. We keep working it down a little bit at a time. And we hear all kinds of other schemes of how to whittle the numbers down. But those whittling the numbers, we already got a bargain, folks. We're in the lowest 25% of per pupil cost in the state. And as Mela said, some of those numbers are pretty high. You get $25,000, $30,000 per student in some communities. We're not there. We are well below the state average. I guess that's all I have to say for now. Unusual soapbox.
Thank you. I think the first thing I want to say is thank you to the Administrative Council and to the community for providing input to us about the priorities that we should have moving forward in this horrendous period of uncertainty. The economic situation is really just untenable. When I try to wrap my head around, what we should cut, it's just unbelievable to me that we have to be here debating what we cut, because these are necessities. This is the bread and butter of education. This is what we owe to our community, to our children, to the families in this area. And I just, it's an awful lot of work, and it's really heart-wrenching to go through to figure out what you can give up. And really what you've recommended are things that you really shouldn't have to give up. And I appreciate that. I also appreciate our superintendent and of course Mr. Nelson for always putting in perspective for the school committee what the impact of our budget decisions are. And I appreciate that, and also my fellow committee members. This is not an easy thing to do, and everyone in this room knows that we don't want to be here talking about this, and we all disagree that we should cut anything because we should be adding. The one thing I can't get over is we're talking about a modified level services. It's not level services. We are below where we need to be. We are not offering languages we should offer. We're not offering basics. Our user fees for sports are obscene. So we are talking about scraping it and trying to take things away, to me, that deprive our children of opportunities to dream about what they might do with themselves in their lives, in their adult lives. We deprive them of opportunities. Now, I'm not a parent. I'm the only person on the committee who isn't a parent, which is sometimes hard for me to visualize the impact. But when I hear the stories that many of you tell when we have these hearings, it reverberates. We are impacting the development of our kids when we take away opportunities for them to express themselves in different ways. Not every kid is going to be inspired by sports. Some of them might be inspired by playing the flute. Somebody else might be inspired by language and get over their fear of public speaking, which will serve them lifelong. We are taking those opportunities away from them, and this reverberates into adulthood, and I think we all understand that. So, at the same time, I think there is room to think hopefully about where we can move forward. Clearly, we're not going to change the culture on Beacon Hill overnight. We didn't get here in a year, so it's going to take a lot longer to fix that. There are many, many problems in the mindset that we have. As a community, we're behind education. 4 out of 5 selectmen are here about education. This is an important part of our lives here in North Reading. But at the state level, we have some challenges in sort of cutting through what folks think is important. To me, their priorities are completely off, and I can say this as a politician. What are they not thinking about? What matters? And that really makes me, as a member of this community, as somebody who wants to start a family, and stay here in North Reading despite the economic uncertainty and the difficulty it is to stay in a semi-affluent place like North Reading. I can't even believe I said affluent, because at this point, who's affluent? It's very, very challenging to think about how you're going to make that happen. People want to come to North Reading because of the thinking, the culture, the community that is here. And this is something that people want. When we keep chipping away at basics, we erode our society within the community. And so I think for us, as a school committee, you should have seen the list got here to the forum tonight, there were some pretty severe cuts. Administrative council knows that this is bad, but it could be a lot worse because we found a way to have that budget gap. So to me, that's the story of the evening. We got halfway there. Let's see what the circuit breaker, what that happens. I don't know if we're going to see any more money in that. We'll see what happens. But I think we all have a loud and clear message that we're in this place again, and it's going to keep happening because it's a systemic problem. But we all have the same priority. So thank you for all being here.
I think I have a few more comments, and I'll open it up for another last round of questions and comments from people that attend. I thank you all for coming. You know, we have regular kids in North Reading. They're regular kids just like every other town. But we have the talent in this town. I mean, you can go from athletic ability. If you didn't see Barnum, it was an amazing show. And my daughter, who is a product of the North Reading schools and now attends Emerson College, brought some friends from Emerson, which is tons of artistic and theater kids, and they said, wow, we never had anything like this at our high school. Nothing. And you know, I've just come to expect that from Sing in the Rain to all the shows and musicals they do. It's phenomenal. And you have committed teachers, and they're all great, but you have someone like Allison Kane, who basically worked up to 15 minutes before she had her last baby, putting Barnum on this time around, and she was there every second of the rehearsals, the performances. You know, despite your politics, we produced the chief speechwriter for the President of the United States from Little North Reading. So they're regular kids, but they're great, whether they go into the military. We've had great representation in the military, whether they get out of school and they go into some trade, or whether they go to college. We have, and that is a reflection of the administrators and the teachers in this district. All that is great stuff. I think we'd be remiss, though, not pointing out, we are sitting here talking about cuts. We are asking for a 5.2% increase in our budget. Now, a part of that is because probably about $500,000 in federal funds or a little more we don't have access to anymore. Thankfully, 2-3 years ago, when Dr. Trojan was here in the school committee, we decided not to spend all that money in one fell swoop, or we would have asked for these cuts 2 or 3 years ago. The health insurance, we all know what the problem is there. The contracts is a structural contract issue where my belief is at some point the state's going to say, we got to change how teachers' contracts read and what they look like and how teachers are paid. That's my hope, because the only way you can change it is you have to start from scratch. And I know Mr. Venezia has had some ideas of, and by the way, Mr. Venezia is home ill tonight. I'm sure he would have loved to have been here, but he's had some ideas about how things can change, but it can't be, I shouldn't say it can't be, it's very difficult for one community to make that change when the unions are centralized, whether it's the AFT or the MTA, in one location, and then they send out all their representatives and say, okay, here's what our strategy is this year for contracts. So, as I said, I'll open it up again. I just don't, I think all of us are aware, but we can't forget how great our schools have been. And they have been tremendous, and you look at the kids that come out of here, you look at college acceptances, and it's outstanding. It's outstanding for this community. So,
There's certain other things that are a part of the problem. Part of the problem is that the state is not living, the Reagan General Court is not living up to the Massachusetts Constitution. Massachusetts Constitution and ed reform and the Duffy case and the Hancock case all were about how funding should travel from the state to the communities. We did a study along with a group that we're associated with, North Shore Coalition for State for School Funding, which showed that the foundation budget actually is about 70% of what it ought to be. We're not getting any action at the State House on that. There's an assessment that's being done of what it really takes, a study on that, just due out December 11th of this year. We're looking forward to seeing that. In the meantime, North Shore Coalition is taking some action to take the state to court to extract the monies that the state should be paying the communities. So there's actions out there to help. If we had 30% more state funding, if we had full Chapter 70 funding, as we should have, if we had full circuit breaker funding, these numbers would not be the same. So there's actions being taken by various groups that we're participating in that are out after the state to fulfill their obligations under the Massachusetts Constitution and under the various case law along the way. It isn't going to happen this year, unfortunately.
Any more questions? Amy?
Just one question, Dr. Willis. Several years ago, when I believe it was a budget meeting at the Hood School and Dr. Trott was there, I had asked him this question prior to having the 4.5 days. I believe the high school went through an accreditation process, and I'm just wondering, with the elimination or the potential elimination of this one instructional technology teacher, does that have any impact on the school district for possible accreditation?
At this point in time, and Mr. Bernard, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I do not believe that you'll need to submit an impact statement around reduction of an instructional technology teacher. But in 2014, when that visiting team comes to take a look at our self-study and make a determination around accreditation, technology is one of the standards that they will take a look at, and that will be assessed at that time. But in terms of the immediate future, we won't need to make an impact statement to NEAS.
Everyone here has mentioned it, and I know that all the levels, elementary, middle, and high school, and the teachers do a phenomenal job. But as Mel said, you know, North Reading produces wonderful students who go on to do amazing things. The concern we have, that Pam also brought up, about a choice that a child has about whether it's a class. But if that choice of not having that instruction here, when everything is technology, we're already at a disadvantage. If that one child's choice to go on to an art school or further their education and they're not accepted as a result of something not being offered in district, that one choice that impacts that one child, it's detrimental, and that's unacceptable.
Well, if the art portfolio, I mean, my daughter didn't go to art school, but she was fortunate to get accepted into art school. She decided to go into the writing area instead of art. But that art portfolio class is what basically got her to understand how to put a portfolio together to submit it to art school. So without that class, you're telling the kids, basically go out and find a tutor or find someone to help you do that, because we're not going to do it here. And I'm sure we try to do it in other ways.
I will.
But that course is very important to, it might only be 10 students, maybe even fewer at this high school who want to pursue art in the future. But without that course, it makes it a lot more difficult for them. Mr. Masseri.
I'd just like to say that, first of all, our community is actually in better financial shape than a lot of our surrounding communities. And looking at the glass half full, I think we should be thankful for everybody that's worked so hard to minimize the impact. There is an impact and there is a gap. The Board of Selectmen on the 19th, this is next Tuesday, we have scheduled a budget workshop for the town side of the budget. And then we will have a public hearing on the town budget, which includes basically the school budget, on the 25th. We will, I guess we have a majority of the board here this evening. They've all heard the issues, they've taken input, and we will be discussing, as we look at the priorities of the money that we have to spend and when we should be applying it in terms of cuts in services or whatever. Perhaps in the end, we can find a way to close the gap even further. Keep our fingers crossed about
Circuit breaker?
circuit breaker.
Right.
Because I mean, that would take another big
Right.
chunk of